Alrighty, so we are sitting down for another review. I'm not sure if this will classify as like a one-shot review of any kind or whatever, but today we're reviewing a video game. And it's a video game I was very excited to play, having played the two previous installments in their take on this superhero, and that is Spider-Man 2. As I alluded to in my video about buying old video games, even though I am clearly building some kind of retro collection behind me, I still could not wait to play this new Spider-Man game. And I have Platinum, the last two, Spider-Man 2018 and Spider-Man Miles Morales, so I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of what Insomniac is trying to do, and I have put many hours into the previous version, so to give an opinion on like how they're evolving the gameplay and stuff like that. I feel like I have a pretty good handle. I have not platinumed this yet, but the only trophies I have left are the ones that are like, do 30 tricks before you hit the ground, or fly from one district to another without touching the ground, or, something like that. So I feel like having played through the entire story, unlocked all the suits, done all the side mission content, all that kind of stuff, I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of what's going on with this game, and I think the review will be pretty short, but let's get into it. And there'll be light spoilers. I'm going to try to not spoil some stuff, but towards the end I'll be talking about sort of like some of the things maybe I'll talk about. Like I'll do a hard like, hey, spoilers after this, and then I'll talk about it. But anyway, with Spider-Man 2, just at the very beginning, to let you guys know what I think that this is possibly one of the most polished, not in terms of no glitches or anything like that, but polished in terms of the execution of an idea. This is the new quintessential superhero game. Now, do I think that this game knocks any other games off of its pedestal or anything like that? Not so much. Like, I saw some people online saying, like, oh, forget Arkham City, Spider-Man 2, and it's just like, dude, Batman and Spider-Man are two completely different entities, and you're playing the games completely differently. Even though the free flow combat system and the combat system in this game are very similar, and the inclusion of gadgets very similar to Batman, all that kind of stuff. But, we're talking about the difference of Batman and Spider-Man, and there is a plethora of Spider-Man games to look at in the past to compare to as well. And I just don't think that, I think that Arkham City is a different game entirely, not only in ambiance, but also in what it's trying to do. So while it is also another superhero game that I've very much enjoyed and think is up there as like, a quintessential genre defining thing, I don't necessarily think that one has to be compared to the other. But Spider-Man 2, I just want to get into kind of, what did they do right? What did they do wrong in this game? And I think that I'm going to start with the wrong, just because there's honestly not a lot to be said here. I really enjoyed my time. I already beat the game. That's why you've been seeing absolutely no movie content other than the upload of Children of the Corn that I watched very late at night, because I have been spending all my free time that I would normally use to watch movies or anything like that finishing this game. And so the negatives are going to be short, but I'll get them out of the way. What do I not like about this game? If there was only one thing that I would say that I feel like I can't deny from the haters when I play this game, is that they had fleshed out the Spider-Man formula so well in Spider-Man 2018 that it was almost impossible for this game to be a great step up, a huge leap up in the gameplay area without there being some crazy changes that we honestly wouldn't even like. You know what I mean? I think that the symbiote abilities, slight spoiler, I hope you all realize that he's going to have the symbiote on him at some point. It's on the cover. But, the symbiote abilities are a really nice touch. The supers, where you can click both analog sticks to activate a super, come in handy. The gadgets have been improved to where they combo super well to each other, especially once you get into some situations where the concussion grenade becomes a much more useful tool. But all in all, if you were to sit somebody in front of Spider-Man 2018, in front of Miles Morales, and then in front of this game, then you might find that somebody that doesn't know any better has a very tough time differentiating between the play style of all these games. And now there are, it goes without saying that there are improvements here where we even have sort of the mini supers where you can click the left bumper and select, a face button and do all sorts of different type of mini supers in addition to the combo finishers. But those are really the only big, the things I've already talked about, the improvement stuff, they're the only big changes to the gameplay. I mean, the web wings kind of count too if you're worried about traversal and stuff like that, and they're very cool. But it's just, I can't help but agree with the people that are saying that these games, especially with how frequently they are coming out, which I commend, they do have a similarity aspect to them that's hard to shake. Okay, so even though we have new neighborhoods, even though we have new powers, the core gameplay loop stays the same, which is awesome because that's what we all loved so much about Spider-Man 2018. But the places where they could have, put a little extra emphasis on the fringes of different combos or the abilities and stuff like that, I think that either one, there's not a whole lot new depth to the combat itself, or two, the game has not been out long enough for us to get a full understanding of the depth of that improvement to the gameplay. Because there are features that I'm not taking advantage of that I would like to take advantage of more in the future. I remember when I was playing Spider-Man 2018 and even Miles Morales to a degree, air combat was basically the cheat code to deal with more difficult situations and not get absolutely wiped, right? And I think that this is true of this game as well, and that is one of the areas on the fringes where they've been able to improve the combat with the bounce up that I believe was not present in the earlier games, as well as there's even a move to slam people into the ground or to web into them into the ground and stuff like that. I think that as we explore those gameplay options a little bit more, I think people's gameplay style will change. But it was too easy to do the exact same style of gameplay that I've had from previous games. And having played those games to death, it's I immediately jumped into this game and started playing the exact same way and was rewarded for it, which I don't necessarily think is bad. I just think that, if there is to be a criticism about newness, then I think it's true. I think it's there. If that's the -9 from 100 that this game got to get a 91 on Metacritic, then I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay? So, with that out of the way, what are some of the things that I really like about this game? First of all, I actually think that the way that they implemented the two Spider-Men system was perfectly fine. It was not in any way problematic. It was not in any way detracting from the story for the most part. And it allowed you to play with both characters, both with interesting, I'm about to say interesting new abilities, but like I just said before, they're not that different, but they both have some new power-ups and some new story beats to explore, and especially when you consider, the whole symbiote aspect and things like that. And Harry coming back into Peter's life, and Miles dealing with the fallout of what happened in his previous game and all that kind of stuff. I think they did the two Spider-Man system really well. Another thing that I was pleasantly surprised by when playing this game is almost like I, for the most part, just wanted to keep playing as Miles Morales. I just think that his story and the way that his personality is within the game, even though it's a little bit campy with the way that the voice actor speaks and stuff like that, his story, honestly, is just more interesting than Peter's to a degree. Obviously, Peter is the focal point in this game for a long time because he is experiencing the main story of the game, but a lot of the things that were going on with Miles are pretty brand new, or at least somewhat of an interesting departure from, the thing in my, it's like I have read, listened to, been summarized all of these different symbiote saga storylines by YouTube or the comics themselves or anything like that, and even the movies, the Sam Raimi movies and the Venom movie itself and all that. And while I think that the symbiote saga that they experience in this game is tremendous and it has great writing, and Peter's story is by no means uninteresting. In fact, it is probably one of the most interesting ways that they have resolved the Venom situation in a long time. But because honestly, I never heard of, what ends up happening, but I just think that, I almost can't explain it, but for some reason, I just felt like it was annoying when I had to do the more casual story beats as Peter, where he's like interacting with MJ about having to pay the mortgage at Aunt May's house and stuff like that. It's like, dude, personally, I'm dealing with trying to figure out all that kind of stuff in my own life. And so I almost don't want to play, even though that's the whole point of Peter Parker. I almost am just kind of bored of Peter being broke and having those issues over and over again. I was just having more fun playing as Miles and kind of fleshing out the universe behind him and who his supporting characters are, and him helping people in his neighborhood through the Friends app and like all that kind of stuff. It was just intriguingly like more fun to play, and I can't even place my finger on as to why, right? One thing that I think they did well in this game that I wish they had gone a little bit more heavy-handed on, but I think they still did a great job, was the side mission content. Yuri's new form, Cletus Cassidy being the leader of a cult, and eventually, setting up the potential of Carnage being in this universe, and even, helping Black Cat at one point, and, just everything that happens side content wise is awesome. I just feel like some of them were almost too quick or too not fleshed out, because maybe they were like, I really want you guys to focus on the symbiote saga stuff. I don't necessarily want you to focus too much on Miles' old high school, especially with him about to try to apply to go to college and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, I think that there could have been more interesting stories told within that, like, Vision's high school storyline, and to get rewarded a suit at the end for how little you have to do. It just seemed kind of, I just wish there had been more. I wish there would have been like a big bad guy at the end of every single one of these. Like, in this game, you have like, it even says on the back of the box, so like I'm not going to spoil anything, you're not at this point, but like you have Kraven, you have Lizard, you have Venom, you have Cletus Cassidy, you have, all these villains, but only a couple of them are people that you fight as the big baddie at the end of a side mission content story. And I just wish that, like, Mysterio's in this, that's one of them. Like, especially with how on at least the normal difficulty, how quickly you can dispose of these sub bosses. It's just like, I wish that the side content would reward me with a really challenging end battle. And maybe that's my fault for not playing on spectacular from the get-go. Um, I would agree with people that say like, oh, he's complaining about the difficulty, but he didn't play on the harder difficulty, even though he's very familiar with the gameplay. That's absolutely fair. That's why I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying I think if they could improve in the future, that would be an area as well. In this game, what's another good thing is that the suits, they have a million different suits to choose from. The only thing that I think gets kind of weird with the suits is like when you reward me with a suit that's like a Miles Morales symbiote type of suit as a part of one of the side missions, but Miles never in this game, I guess this is a spoiler, but so spoilers now, Miles never becomes, attached to the symbiote in any way. Just seems like it's a little bit game breaking. Like I almost feel like I can't wear that suit because it feels wrong. It's like not universe correct or something like that. But so many of these suits are that way anyway. Like they literally have the Spider-Verse suit and stuff that makes you look like Miles from the movies and all that. Like, okay, I get it. It's just for fun. But that's just like my one thing. The new open world, the extra neighborhood's kind of fun, especially with now they have like little like neighborhoods involved in the game where like you're able to go to Aunt May's house in Midtown, and that whole neighborhood is fleshed out as just like a bunch of single family homes. That was just really bizarre to see in this game for some reason after swinging around the main city so much in the other games. I liked all of that. The web wings, as far as traversal goes, were perfect. I almost wish, at first I was like, I wish there were more wind tunnels, but then once I got the hang of using the web wings and swinging all together and getting the feel for that, what that actually should look like, the amount of wind tunnels are perfect. And they almost direct you at least up to certain key points that you'd want to visit frequently. And so I think that was pretty nice. I think as far as the story goes for this game, for both characters and the main story where they interact with each other and all that, I think the story was pretty good. There's some slight cringe moments here and there, but that's just like very par for the course when it comes to a good Spider-Man story. And I love Spider-Man. Like, I actually mostly hate Marvel superheroes because they're pretty uninteresting compared to the DC counterparts. Feel free to disagree with me, but Spider-Man is probably the best superhero ever created before the revitalization of Batman into the symbol of fear. And I just can't get enough of Spider-Man. So this story was a perfect Spider-Man story. It ended in the happy but screwed over way that most Spider-Man stories end in. And, I just feel like it did Spider-Man property justice. And I'm almost feeling like the Insomniac Spider-Man universe is the most interesting one, albeit aside from the Miles Morales animated universe, right? And within this, there is side content where they allude to a connection to the Miles Morales universe, and they even name drop Spider-Man 2099. I think it's like Javier, whatever his name is, but they even name drop him like being upset that all these spider bots got loose on New York. And thinking about that, like I said, some of these side content stories did not have a cool boss fight at the end. It's like, how cool would it have been if the tie-in to Spider-Verse was you collect all these spider bots and then you are fighting another Spider-Man because you weren't supposed to find out about the multiversal connection that you're kind of teased about when you're done with collecting all these, and then maybe you fight like Spider-Man 2099 and then he just kind of lets you be, and that's the end of that, more to come sort of thing. But that's not what happened, so whatever. I'm kind of rambling at this point, but those are many of the things that I liked about this game. To summarize, combat, still amazing, but I feel like they probably could have done somehow, like I'm sitting here giving a problem with no solution, and I understand that, but I feel like somehow they could have done something a little bit more interesting just to give us something new. But I mean, given that it is the combat from the previous two games plus a little bit more sprinkled on top, it already puts it at a very high level, right? The story was very good. There were some parts that were cringe, like I said, but that's, very good. The way that the two characters interacted with each other made a lot of sense. Very good. Side content, very good. Wish there were more big boss fights, but it is what it is. And then I guess the last thing I could talk about is the collectathon aspect of this game was a little bit downplayed in this version of it. In Spider-Man 2018, like that was a huge portion of the side missions, and it felt like you got rewarded pretty well for that, especially with the Black Cat missions leading into like this whole thing, and you almost had to like Google that stuff to figure out how to get all these photographs and things like that. Whereas this time around, the photograph missions were just like pretty plain and simple, but again, I thought it was all good. So, if anything, I would say if you liked these previous two Spider-Man games from Insomniac, you absolutely need to play this game because it's right up your alley. Like I said, it's very similar. And you'll want to experience this story. Like even my girlfriend, while I was playing this, while she was tolerating me having it on the TV while she was doing something else, she was like, whoa, this game is like a movie. And, I had to hold in the ability to be like, every game is like that now. They're all so cinematic. It's amazing. But, I was like, yeah, it does look pretty cool. So, you'll just enjoy this. You know what I mean? But it is rated teen, so don't expect like some ridiculous, like super edgy Venom story, because it just doesn't exist in here, and I think that the way that they served up their own version to solve this problem at the end of the game was awesome. And the idea that like now the Insomniac Spider-Man, Peter Parker, has a unique version of his own abilities, that is just like awesome. I love that part of it. And then, at the end in the post-credits, one of the many post-credit scenes of this game, we're introduced to the fact that there may be a third Spider-Person that they're going to introduce in the next installment of this franchise. Or maybe even in DLC. I don't know, like maybe Carnage will be DLC. I don't know. And maybe that's why the side content feels a little bit lackluster, because the fleshing out of it's going to happen in the DLC. And that happened with the DLC of Spider-Man 2018. So, I can totally see where that's coming from. So, all in all, if I'm plugging Spider-Man 2 into the 5-point system, I really, really enjoyed my time with this game. I'm damn near platinumed in it just through my first playthrough, and I literally 100%ed all the content without, feeling like I was getting bored or anything like that. So I really do have to give this game a solid, strong 4 out of 5. But it's just not a 5 out of 5 because it's just like, it's almost like they have created such a perfect formula for a Spider-Man game in the first game that this one feels like a new story, same skin sort of situation. And I don't know what I would have expected from them. Even in saying this, I can't figure out what the solution would be to give it that extra oomph to make it different. And I'm like literally staring at God of War Ragnarok on the floor right now, the disc for that. And I'm trying to think in my head, like in real time, just like what made that game feel like it was a step up that this game doesn't have. And maybe that's the introduction of the other gameplay elements like the spear or the ability to add some verticality to the game or whatever. But just like there's something, it's almost like they got so close to perfection and they didn't screw it up. Like in no way does this deserve to be less than a 91, right? But I just think that there could have been more meat on the bone for this one, and that could have brought it up to a true 5 and have everybody, slapping high fives all around type of thing. So, what does this game make me feel overall? To kind of, I guess, contrast what I've just said, it makes me really excited for the Insomniac Wolverine game, because they just can't miss. Like, why are we giving Marvel property over to people like Square Enix if they're just going to try to turn it into a microtransaction hell when you have somebody building out a Marvel game universe in a very thoughtful and respectful way to the fans? I guess I'm just excited. And I'm especially excited because the freaking interviews for the Wolverine game are saying that, yes, it's going to take place in the same universe, but we're going to let the Wolverine team cook and do whatever they want to do for a Wolverine game before we have to tie Spider-Man in, even if he makes a cameo or something. And that's just so amazing to hear, because like this multiverse stuff, I mean, I'm not even going to get into like the absolute milking of the multiverse crap, but it's just like, this is how you do it right. Like, let them stand alone on their own and then weave the other people in for fan service. That to me feels like the best implementation of that, and it seems like that's what Insomniac's going to do. And they're also, I mean, this is huge spoiler. If you made it to the end of this, and this is a giant spoiler, Peter Parker retired at the end of this game. I love that, actually, because now it's like what I was just saying about, I'm honestly more interested in the development of Miles' story. Now Miles has front seat. And they lobbed up the possibility of Silk being in the next game. And for those who don't know, that's basically like a female Spider-Person. And the idea that like Peter's still going to be there for advice, but he's not the main guy. But if something goes completely to crap, Peter will still be there. I mean, it's just like, it's a perfect setup for, like, the main problem that I see online about discourse about Miles Morales as a comic book character is that Miles is never given the ability in the vacuum that he has, where he's literally 5 minutes away from Spider-Man and whoever else is taking over New York. He never gets the ability to have his own side cast, his own characters that get built up over time that we care about in the same way that we care about Aunt May and Mary Jane and all this stuff. Well, guess what? In this universe, it feels like that's happening. Like, I actually care about Genki as a character. I actually care about Rio as a character. I'm assuming that because Cindy Moon's dad is Rio's new boyfriend, that, we're going to obviously care about her as a character, and maybe she eventually becomes her own main character as well down the line and experiences the same issues that Miles has in the comics. I don't know, but it's just like, I feel that with Peter taking a back seat following this situation, it provides a very interesting foothold for where this is going to go forward, and I appreciate them for that. So without, I could talk, I'm now thinking of more things that are coming in my head spoiler wise that I could talk about on end, but I would like to film more videos today, so I'm going to just cap it off at that and say, if you are like, I really like Spider-Man, but should I go out and buy Spider-Man 2 around launch? Is it that good to drop what I'm doing and play it? I would say yes. Go ahead and play it, especially if you love superhero games, because Insomniac seems to be the only people out there who are trying to make something that isn't trying to come for your wallet or have some horrible progression system that doesn't make any sense. So with that in mind, like, absolutely support this game and buy it brand new if you feel like that's the right thing to do. So I totally recommend this game. Strong 4. Only reason it's not a 5 is I feel like they could have done a little bit more. But that's the review. That's Spider-Man 2. And if you guys agree, disagree with me, let me know in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe to help support my channel, just because I like seeing that subscriber number go up. But and it makes me feel like more people are going to end up seeing the video in the end, even though that doesn't really matter to me. So yeah, so that's the review. I'll catch you guys on the next one, and I will see you later.